Professor Tolkien, The Lord of the Rings is one of the most remarkable works of fiction of this century. And I'm going to start with one or two questions about possible source material. For example, I thought that conceivably Midgard might be Middle-earth or have some connection.
Oh, yes, they're the same word. Most people have made this mistake and think Middle-earth is a particular kind of Earth or is another planet, and in the science fiction sort. But it's simply an old-fashioned word for this world we live in, as imagined surrounded by the ocean.
It seemed to me that Middle-earth was, in a sense, as you say, this world we live in. But this world we live in at a different era.
Well, no, at a different stage of imagination, yeah.
But this is interesting because in The Lord of the Rings, particularly in appendices, you go to great trouble to get your chronology exactly correct with respect to the four ages that you write about. Yeah. But you make no attempt at all to tie this up with time as we know it today. Why is this?
Because it would have been impossible. Because it would have completely interfered with and trampled one in a free invention of history and incident to one's story.
Nevertheless, despite what you've just said, it seems to me that one could place most of the action, if not all of the action, within a fairly definite sort of time.
It won't really work out, either paleontologically or archaeologically at all, actually. I mean, and you can't really relate the land masses I described them satisfactorily to the land masses we know now. Nor, of course, can you really have such a sort of mixed culture as I describe, which includes tobacco umbrellas and other things, to what little is known of archaeological history. I wanted people simply to get inside this story and take it, in a sense, of actual history. It seemed to me that to be cut off by a vague abyss of ages had exactly the same effect as you get in a scientific story when you go into some remote part of the galaxy. They don't really explain how, but you get the sense of being far away, that's all. In a possible world, but far away. This is the same sort of thing in time, isn't it?
Oh, yes, but in what one might call science fiction, the authors seldom go to the trouble, anything like the trouble you've done, in tying this imagined world so closely to the world as we know it. Because so much of this is very close to what we know, I won't say today, but in the recent historical past.
Oh, yes, it resembles some of the history of Greece and Rome as against the perpetual infiltration of people out of the East, doesn't it?
Yes.
Yes, it certainly does that. But then, of course, a poor man who's building a story has to build it out of some of the things he himself knows. He doesn't rush around to Roman history and go and see what that happened. But, I mean, if he's been brought up as I was on ordinary history and on his reading, that will be the material out of which he constructs.